Welcome back, Cubs. Direwolf here. Today I'm joining with some of my fellow YouTube skeptics to expose, debunk, raise awareness of, and state our opposition to the group Heart's Progress. The main focus of this group is to classify pedophilia as no longer a mental disorder that people should seek treatment for, but a new sexuality similar to being homosexual. They want to conflate the sexual preference of two consenting adults where no one is harmed with the incredibly harmful sexual abuse of children who are unable to consent. Progress is lobbying legally the lower the age of consent is low as the age of 4. They argue that pedophiles are doing nothing wrong as long as they are grooming the children into thinking that they are okay with having sexual contact. Their main 3 arguments that we are going to debunk for you today are first that pedophiles, or pedosexuals as they call them, have a harmless sexual preference no different than anyone else in the LGBT community. Second, that children as young as the age of 4 are mentally capable of consenting to sexual contact. And third, we will categorically prove false the claim that there is no harmful effects of adults having sex with children. It is very important that we stand united opposed to these very harmful claims. The value of the morality of a culture is seen in how they take care of the weakest among them. And our children are the most vulnerable members of our society. We should be guiding and protecting them to be our future, not using them for our selfish pleasures and destroying their future. To help you understand the group Heart's Progress, here's a blog post from one of its supporters.
In my journey of embracing the left and joining groups of other like-minded individuals, I stumbled upon a group known as Heart's Progress Foundation. Heart Progress Foundation is a revolutionary new group that is seeking to spread awareness of the plight of pedosexuals. Founded by Ernest Steiner, himself an advocate for people with pedosexuality in 2016, has gained much momentum and is growing daily in membership. Now you're probably reeling back into disgust and saying something along the lines of, pedophiles are disgusting pieces of shit.
This is most people's natural reaction because most people have a conscience and know that harming children, having sex with children is wrong and disgusting. But he goes on.
I urge you all to remember that we here on the left accept everyone.
First off, that's not true. The regressive left do not accept Christians, conservative, Republicans, or traditional leftists. They don't accept white people unless they're going to be submissive pawns, and they don't accept anyone, including minority groups, that disagree with the regressive agenda. The regressive left is not tolerant, and it is not inclusive. It is inherently divisive and subversive. And second, why would you want a group that is accepting of all people and tolerant of all things? Are you going to be tolerant of criminals, liars, cheaters, murderers? Has the regressive left sunk so low that they are willing to bring in child abusers to get more votes? And the answer to this question is yes, and you'll see that the regressive news outlets are actually trying to sell this narrative that there's nothing wrong with being a pedosexual. They've sold out their morals and the safety of our children for political points. But wait, there's more.
Pedosexuals have been forced into the shadows and must practice their sexuality in secret, much how homosexuals had to practice their sexuality in secret back in the day.
There is a chasm of difference between the sexual liberation and normalizing of homosexuality and the legalizing and normalization of child abuse. You are insulting and discrediting the lives and the struggles of homosexuals when you try to relate it to the sexual abuse of children.
Oh, but direwolf, this all began as parody to mock the LGBT. Well, I really don't care what it started as. It's now a haven for pedophiles. A place just like Clover Gender. All this hashtag Heart Progress crap is a place where pedophiles now hide to promote their fucking sick ways. So I don't give a fuck where it started or why it started. It exists, and what they preach is fucking wrong.
You know, it honestly sickens me that we even need to have this discussion. The world is going insane. It's as if Western civilization at large has forgotten the entire purpose of law in the first place. As if, in their defense of these predators, they have forgotten that we seek to isolate harmful elements from society to protect the collective. And in remaining faithful to that purpose, there is no class of people in the world more vulnerable or more pivotal to the security of our future than children. They are the class of people to whom our society owes the most protection, and when many of us are already disturbed by the disparity of sentencing between male and female offenders, you can expect no tolerance for your attempt to classify and legitimize these deviants for their supposed sexual orientation. My own younger brother was almost victim to one of these sick bastards, and I will give no quarter to those defending them. Legislation concerning the age of consent is not arbitrary. It is based on studies of psychosocial development and maturity. And for this same reason, the case of Roper v. Simmons in 1993 served as a landmark, deeming it inappropriate and unconstitutional to sentence minors to the death penalty, because a child under the age of 18 years old does not and cannot fully grasp the gravity of their actions. At first, I considered comparing the mind of a developing child to the cognitive impairment of a drunken adult, but then I realized that even that isn't a fair comparison. because a drunken adult is fully aware of what alcohol will do to them before they step up to the bar, and is capable of taking necessary precautions for their own safety. A developing child has not yet experienced the full cognitive capacity of an adult, and is entirely unaware of his or her own ineptitude. I have yet to run into a person who is drunk in a legal context who will not admit to being drunk, especially when they walked into a bar specifically to get shit-faced. But just try telling a teenager that they're immature. Just try suggesting that they don't know everything about the world and watch them fight you on it. It is not merely a question of cognitive capacity, but also of impetuous and reckless behavior during the establishment of a child's identity, which is typically marked by antisocial behavior, defiance of authority, and a heightened susceptibility to peer pressure. A child not only does not understand the full context and gravity of such a decision, his or her brain is also not yet wired to observe prudence and inhibition under the stress of social pressure. And the younger that child is, the less capable he or she is of weighing the potential consequences of his or her actions in a proper cost-benefit analysis. More important than a child's inability to consent with an adult level of comprehension, though, is the manner of damage sexual abuse can do to a developing brain versus a fully matured brain. The architecture of the brain is a bottom-up construction, starting with the rapid proliferation of neural connections that establish basic sensory input, then early language skills, and then higher cognitive function and logic. Neural pathways branch out, are reductively pruned for the sake of efficiency, and then more complex neural connections are built on the foundation of earlier, simpler circuitry. This early period of neural development is critical to how a child will further develop into adulthood. During the earliest years of our lives, we learn by example, and we rely on interaction from the adults around us to form a serve and return feedback loop which will inform everything from our speech to our moral sensibilities. This is why abuse in childhood can lead to criminal or otherwise aberrant behavior in later life, because the trauma affects us before we have the ability to rationally process what just happened, and before we have the moral filters to prevent it from affecting our own behavior. Understand now that who you are is ultimately a product of this period of high neuroplasticity during your early childhood, and it is the source of the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Your brain literally wires itself over time in accordance with the parameters projected upon it by its environment. The more complex your neural architecture becomes, the more specialized it becomes in dealing with expected stimuli, the harder it is to alter. It's the reason why your native language will always be the easiest to learn. And it's the reason why the earlier a negative experience occurs within a given lifetime, the more likely the trauma will corrupt the developing cognitive functions. This isn't simply a matter of a child not understanding enough about the world to be adequately equipped to consent. When you sexually abuse a child, you are quite literally pulling out the bottom bricks from the foundation of their cognitive development. The pain and distress that you cause them breaks early and critically important neural pathways and will forever disrupt the way they process and perceive stressful stimuli in the future. This is how the maladapted psychology of career criminals and serial killers is cultivated. This is how you ruin a life. So no, we will not recognize your sick sexual deviance as a legitimate sexual orientation, and we will not permit your misinformation about a child's ability to consent in order to justify it. The most you can expect from me, from any of the collaborators in this video, or from any sane and rational person, is the recognition of your sexual attraction to children as a mental illness in need of treatment. But we will not permit you to corrupt the next generation just so you can get your rocks off.
Let's talk about the very real, long-lasting harm caused by childhood sex abuse. According to a study funded by the USA National Institute of Drug Abuse, individuals who had sexual abuse as a child that did not include their genitals had a 2.8 out of 6 chance developing drug dependence, a 2.4 out of 6 chance developing alcohol dependence, a 1.3 out of 6 chance developing major depression, a 1.4 out of 6 chance developing general anxiety disorder, and a 1.6 out of 6 chance developing 2 or more disorders, and that's sexual abuse not including their genitals. Individuals who had sexual intercourse as a child, as a minor, had a 5.7 out of 6 chance developing drug dependence, a 4 out of 6 chance developing alcohol dependence, a 3 out of 6 chance or 50% chance of developing major depression, 2.9 or 3 out of 6 or 50% chance of developing general anxiety disorder, and a 5.4 chance developing 2 or more of these disorders. That is to say, the vast majority of individuals who are sexually assaulted as a child develop crippling mental disorders, and 30% of them go on to harm other people in the same way that they were originally harmed. Childhood sex abuse has a near 100% certainty of causing psychological issues and harm to a child, and there is absolutely nothing you could ever say that would make that acceptable.
Hey, Gemineye here, or as most know me, that dumb owl cunt. While it may be common sense to most of us that sexual relations with kids affects the kid in various harmful ways, sense is not exactly common among those who think that it should be legal to fuck kids. So while it's obvious why this is wrong, I feel that it's still important to cite some statistics. Why is it so fucking hard to say? Just to put the nail in the coffin. Speaking of coffins, I bet Heart Progress would be accepting of necrophilia. It is just a sexual orientation after all, right? They'll add the N to LGBTPQ by next week, the sick fucks. First off, sex physically harms children. This is a fact and should end the debate. But that's not good enough for some of these creeps, as they need more proof. Preoccupation with sex distracts kids from crucial learning stages. As kids age, they will progress through these stages regardless of whether or not the conflicts have been resolved. These stages build upon one another, and in the manner in which each task is resolved impacts the rest of development. This results in the child going through the rest of their life with mental disorders and substance abuse in place of healthy coping mechanisms. I personally cope by eating cookies and watching Disney movies just to cry at the sad scenes. PTSD and substance abuse are among the most common issues associated with adults who suffered sexual abuse as a child. Sexual abuse victims are 3 times more likely to suffer depression, 6 times more likely to suffer PTSD, 13 times more likely to abuse alcohol, and 26 times more likely to abuse drugs than those who have not been sexually abused as a child. Furthermore, in a study, young people who had experienced child sexual abuse had a suicide rate that was 10.7 to 13 times the national Australian rates. 32% of the abused children had attempted suicide, and 43% had thought about suicide since they were sexually abused. I was 13 times more likely to kill myself after reading Heart Progress tweets. It doesn't take a psychologist to know that raping a kid leads to mental issues. Lastly, there is a direct correlation between sexual abuse victims and sexual abusers. A staggering 35% of child sexual abusers were once abused. These are facts that can't be ignored. Raping kids is wrong, and if you have to be told that, then you're sick in the head. There's no gray area here. Sex with children physically and mentally harms the child and affects them negatively for the rest of their life.
How's it going, everyone? The White YouTuber here. Now, Heart Progress, aka Nambla 2.0, which is what I like to call them, wants pedophilia so bad to be legalized in this world. They believe that pedophilia is a marginalized class, a minority in sexual orientation and identity. I'm here to prove to you that not everything that is a minority should be legalized. First off, let's talk about Salon Media Group. Salon is an American news and opinion website created in 1995. So right off the bat, you know that they're trying to give you news. They're trying to give you what people's opinions are. I'm going to show you some experts from that article that Salon later deleted, showing you some of the idiotic and horrific statements noted by Todd Nickerson. I'll read this first expert in full. My goal is to protect children from harm, not from sex. Society believes that these things are pretty much one and the same. In the case of children, there is ample evidence that this is untrue, and that in fact society itself generates much of the harm. Consensual sex play likely wouldn't be traumatic or mess kids up so much if society didn't make a big deal of it. Oh, lovely. I feel like I'm in sociology class again, where society is the reason for everything, right? Not the humans. Everyone thinks that something goes wrong because society says it's wrong. But why does society say it's wrong? I wonder. Maybe it's because the fucking people decided this is wrong. But you go, why? Why did they decide it? I don't know. Maybe common sense. Maybe their morals. Maybe knowing the right from wrong based off biology, scientific fact. So when it comes to the fact of fucking kids, it's not society. It's humans knowing that this is a wrong thing to do. He's trying to paint a picture basically that a lot of kids get messed up because they're told that that pedophilia transaction that you had with that adult was wrong. So they're going, oh my god, what happened to me was traumatic and society's telling me this. But that's not the case. The reason people are telling you this, not society. The reason people are telling you pedophilia is wrong is because people with a fucking brain cell in their head know it's wrong. They know it's wrong physically, they know it's wrong emotionally, and they know it's wrong mentally. Many others are going to discuss the mental and emotional wrongs of pedophilia, but real quick, let's discuss the sad, sickening physical parts that are also wrong. It's wrong for, let's say, a 40-year-old man to have sex with a 7-year-old boy just based off of physics. That type of male, and I know this is sad to say, but you have to fucking say it, that type of male genitalia is going going to hurt a young boy who isn't physically fully developed. I know that's a sickening, stomach-churning thing to think about, but those are the facts. It's fucking insane that people are still trying to justify pedophilia with just that known thought in your fucking head. He then goes on to talk about how children need pedophiles, how they bridge the gap between the young child world to the adult world. You don't need pedophiles for that. You know what bridges the gap? Age and time and just, living your fucking life. There's no gap. The time will keep going on. You will keep getting older from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 years old and keep going until you eventually fucking die. You don't need someone to bridge a gap. Another statement is that he is trying to tell you that pedophiles are better for your children than the fucking parents. He's saying that parents have a vested interest on controlling your kids. That's weird that he would make that assumption. Now, to be fair, there are parents that control their kids. There are also parents who want their kids to do better in life than they actually did. That way they have an easier life to live. So I can understand the whole, you think parents are controlling kids. Okay, fair enough. But I wonder if it's safe to assume that pedophiles might have a vested interest in kids. I wonder, what would a pedophile want to do with a kid? I just can't think of it. This is how fucking ridiculous this argument is, and I'm trying to keep a straight face while making it. Another thing that Mr. Nickerson says is that kids actually gravitate towards pedophiles, that they want to be around them more. He goes on to say how it's just common that a kid would want to be around a pedophile. No. It's common because pedophiles are usually very, very nice to kids. You know how like a kid wants candy and a parent decides to give them candy, the kid's gonna want to hang out with that parent more? Or if a kid wants a toy and a parent gives that kid a toy, the kid's gonna want to hang out with the parent more. That's why pedophiles try to offer kids gifts and candy and other stuff. That way a fucking kid would want to go, this adult's real nice, I want to hang out with him. Also, I'm going off my own perception, but I've seen people get a little too comfortable with kids, and kids even go, whoa, back the fuck off, this is weird. So your whole little theory is a bunch of bullshit. The last damning expert from this, and I'm gonna say it in full, is fucking insane. And it goes like this. Once again, I've always maintained that if we lived in a different, more sex-positive society, and it were legal to do so, I would engage in sex play with a child that I loved if she wanted it and initiated it. I will never deny that. So if it was legal, he would do it. If pedophilia was legal, he'd fuck a young girl. That's what he just said. There's no left, right, up, down, gray area. That's what he just said, which really scares me. And I understand this is an assumption. If it wasn't legalized, but he could 100% get away with it, would he do it? I don't know. But I do know that he's a pedophile, and I do know that he's fucking crazy enough trying to push that pedophilia is legalized in this world. Another thing is pedophilia in the media. New York Times explaining how pedophilia is a disorder and not a crime. Here's the thing. If you have a disorder that you want to fuck kids, okay, we'll definitely call that a disorder. You're 100% right. But don't act like it's not wrong. It is a sickening thing to be a pedophile. It's not, we should feel sorry for you. No, we started with that shit with alcoholism. Now you're gonna go all the way to fucking pedophilia? No, we shouldn't feel sorry for you. Get fucking help. Get fixed. CNN's Don Lemon was actually quoted saying he felt a bit sorry for Jerry Sandusky, a pedophile who is now in prison for what he did at Penn State University. People are trying to make pedophilia basically the new thing that we should feel sorry for. See, it really started with participation awards in America. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I really think that's where it all started, that we should feel sorry for someone who came in last place. Then alcoholism. We should feel sorry because it's an addiction. He can't control it. And now we're all the way up to pedophilia where it's like, no, you don't understand. He wants to fuck kids, but he also just wants to make it legal. So we should feel sorry that it's just a disorder. No, we should say fuck that. We should not allow this in our fucking country, in our fucking world. Why is this being okay with some people? Because people are fucking stupid and they're trying to feel sorry for things that you shouldn't feel sorry for. Like some people said before, there's no gray area for this. It's black and white. This is wrong. 100% wrong. And the sad part is Heart Progress, aka NAMBLA 2, is trying to go, no. Pedophilia is okay. We should try to legalize it. It's a minority sexual orientation. It's like that episode of South Park. There's an activist group for everything.
James Carter, which is a fake name with a fake picture, is one of the prominent members of Heart Progress, and his words and beliefs are representative of the entire group. He idolizes and gains inspiration from the leaders of the Man-Boy Love Association. He tells us that pedophilia is normal and natural, and that we need to be accepting and tolerant of it. He says that children are able to consent to sex, that there is no harm from having sex with a child, and that there should be no legal age restriction on having sex with anyone. He is a disgusting, demented individual.
Well, James, if that's your real name, I know this is not your real photo. Poor sod who got stuck with your account. You want to make pedophilia legal. I get it. You want your own little sick urges to be made available for all the world to see. I'm sorry, that's just not gonna happen. And then you want to say things like the LGBT does, and saying things like, your sexuality is valid. I'm sorry. I can kind of understand that from the gay people and the lesbian people and stuff like that, but definitely not from pedophiles. I'm a Christian. I have my own viewpoints on homosexuality, but definitely pedosexuality is certainly out of the table. And then you want to go and report people like the white YouTuber for going up against you, and you brag about it, saying he's being hateful, he's being mean. You have said that you want to fight the discrimination against pedosexuals that gays have faced for a long time. Well, gay people should not be hated. No matter what you believe, gay people should not be hated as much as they are. But pedophiles, they should. There's a reason they're hated as much as they are. And then you want to go and say things like, hate is more of a choice than pedosexuality will ever be. Really? So, how is it that you can be born a pedophile? Because to start off with, you start off as a child, a little boy or a little girl, and then you grow up into an adult. You cannot be a pedophile as a child. You just can't. That does not add up. Because then you're just two children who like each other. So you can't be born that way. You had a tweet that said, families understand you, and they know that you're fighting for equality for all. And had a little girl holding up a sign that I need heart progress because I know he's fighting for equality for everyone. How disgusting. You want to get your sick jollies out, and you want to make sure that everybody knows how sick and twisted and demented that you are, yet you're too much of a coward to show your real face or use your real name or do any of that stuff. And if ever you see this clip, I know you'll probably be like, well, you're not showing your real face. Yeah, but I'm not a sick, twisted pedo freak either, am I? I'm not going around saying, well, adults should be allowed to love children whenever they want to. Stop being mean to me. They got mean tweets. People like you make me sick. They make me absolutely 100% sick. And I'm glad that this video is being made. I'm glad that there's a group of us that are wanting to stand up against people like you. I will never, ever, ever accept pedosexuality as an actual thing. I just won't. I refuse to. I cannot fathom a world where adults are allowed to live in an Islamic society, which is essentially what you're doing. And you have various tweets that say that Islam is the religion of peace and stuff like that. So my guess is that you're some Islamic fool who's okay for arranged marriages and stuff like that, and where adults get it on with children and stuff like that, and you just want to use this fake photo as a way to hide your identity. It's disgusting. It's creepy. It's nasty. And it's cowardly. I mean, at least Omni had the guts to show his face. He's still a disgusting individual, but at least he showed his face. You refuse to show your face, and that shows how much of a sad, pitiful individual you really are. I need a shower after talking about this stuff. Dyer, thank you very much. God bless you. Have a great day, everybody.
Disgusting. Pedophobia in the year 2017. Hashtag love the hate. Hashtag heart progress.
No, what's disgusting is your use of the term pedophobia. We're not afraid of you. We just really fucking hate your guts. Everyone does. Even serial rapists hate your fucking guts.
You don't need to fight. Pedosexual will be accepted. Progress will prevail. Hashtag progress prevails. Hashtag heart progress.
Oh, there is every need to fight fuckfaces like you. Trust me. And if you can't understand the damage you do psychologically and physically to children, well, that's even more of a reason to kick your ass.
We're not legalizing sex with children. We're legalizing the pedosexual's right to love. Hashtag heart progress.
Sure, you're trying to legalize a pedosexual's, well, let's just call it what it is, a pedophile's right to love. Let's face it, you just want to screw children and get away with it.
When will you bigots learn that you will not win with verbal abuse? If you come at us with hate in your heart, you will be taken down for abuse or threats. Hashtag no hate.
So verbal abuse isn't going to work, huh? Maybe we should try physical abuse. Would you prefer that? Because holy shit, I want to take you out with a baseball bat right now.
I'm doing all it takes to help these people. Hashtag Heart Progress is on a mission to help the LGBTQ community all it can. Hashtag love is love.
So you're doing everything you can to help people who want to mentally and physically scar children for life, huh? Wow. Aren't you just a fucking saint?
I am Alpha Bitch, Direwolf's wife and mother of his 2 cubs. No matter how you justify it in your mind, if you try to do anything sexual with my kids, I will rip your fucking head off. When you say that if a kid thinks they want to do something sexual, that it makes it okay, it does not make any sense. Adults can convince kids they want to do anything, even though they don't understand it. This is because adults can easily manipulate children. It does not matter if the kid wants to do something that is harmful to them. It is our responsibilities as adults to guide and protect kids. It is our job to make sure that perverts like Heart Progress even have contact with our kids.
Hi kids! Today we're here to talk about an article from the Salon. And the title of this particular article is "The Pedophile I Could Not Help. He was not a monster or a molester. The system destroyed him." Okay, this entire article was gross and disgusting, and I swear I wanted to take a shower in acid or something after reading this whole thing, but I didn't. What the article is talking about initially is that a pedophile was grooming what he thought was a 10-year-old child online. That 10-year-old child was actually an undercover police agent. They do this as a kind of a baiting and trapping pedophiles. They kind of lure them out of their hiding holes. Yeah, it's actually quite effective, and that's really scary to think about. But after this pedophile had quote-unquote groomed this supposed 10-year-old child, he set up a meet and greet. In other words, a meet and rape. And that's when it crossed the line. Actually, it was still illegal what he was doing, talking to a supposed child online that was about sexual manners. That is actually still a crime, okay? Now we got it's going into action. He is setting up a time, setting up a place, and he plans to rape this child. That's when it gets into a whole nother level of, you're fucked, you stupid idiot. Now the next step was he actually went to that place, and instead of fighting a 10-year-old child, he was greeted by the police. Yay, I am happy about that. May he never ever get released again. So they caught him in the act of trying to rape a supposed 10-year-old child, okay? Now, the author of this particular article is upset about that fact. She even writes in there, he never touched the child. Who fucking cares? He was about to. 1, it's illegal to groom the child. 2, it is illegal to set up a meet and rape. And 3, it is illegal to go to that place to meet and rape. That is intention. That is illegal. That is against the fucking law. The police did the right thing, and he needs to be in jail and out of the public and away from children. He is a danger to children. But this person that wrote this article was on his side. Oh, he didn't touch any children. He was about to. That is is all that needs to be said. The sleazy little fuck was about to harm a child, and he had full intention on doing it too. So she actually met this particular pedophile because he came to her research center after he was arrested to have his brain scanned, and is a part of this big project to see why pedophiles are the way they are. And she has sympathy for him after she meets him and talks to him because he has charisma. He's sweet. He's curious. He's smart. Who fucking cares? Oh, wait. I know who cares. The editor of this Salon article. That's who cares. Okay? That is the one who cares. So she goes on and on talking about how wonderful he is and how wrong it is that he's going to be incarcerated and how curious he is about what his brain looks like after he gets an MRI done, and he goes to jail after all of the all the data has been collected. And she's upset. Such a good man went to jail for grooming a supposed 10-year-old child, which another thing, she has an issue with that it wasn't a 10-year-old child, it was actually a cop, but the predator didn't know that. He thought it was an actual 10-year-old child. So done with that argument. So he went to jail for the crimes that he committed, the grooming, the setting up the meeting, and actually going to this meeting and finding a full-grown ass policeman instead of an innocent 10-year-old child. Go police. So she's all upset about that, and she goes into another rant about how, well, we need to have this new thing set up where people who have these feelings can come to these research centers and get help. What? Okay. All right. Let's play devil's advocate here. Let's see what she's saying. Basically, she's saying that there are pedophilias out there that have these feelings, have these urges, but have never acted on them. They're like ticking time bombs in my head, because eventually they are. They always do, pretty much. And she says that we should have these clinics where they can come and speak, and it's a safe space where they won't get arrested or outcast, and they can seek help for their mental illness because they can't help the fact that they are attracted to innocent little children. Basically, she's playing this off as it's just another sexual orientation, and because it's outside the laws, we must give them the resources to help so they don't break the laws. No, these people are deviants. It is not normal human nature to be sexually attracted to children. There is something seriously wrong with these individuals, and eventually they will act on their emotions. They will harm a child, no matter how much they think they will never will. They will. So what's the best thing to do with a pedophile? Once you catch him, legally catch him in the act of doing something like the one in this article did, or you've caught them after they've harmed a child, you throw their happy asses in jail, and hopefully they get shanked while they're in there. I know that sounds horrible of me, but I have absolutely no sympathy for a pedophile or a child molester. I have none. I cannot even get into this woman's head and figure out why she had sympathy for this particular pedophile. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't know why. I don't have any sympathy for him. He's the one that fucked up and was trying to have sex with a 10-year-old child. Now, another thing that scares me is the fact that we do have people out here that are trying to normalize pedophilia. They're trying to say, oh, it's normal, oh, it's natural, oh, it's another sexual orientation. Some of them just need help. We don't need to be so mean to them. And some are even saying, oh, yeah, we should lower the legal age of consent. What the fuck is wrong with you people? No, bad. No, stop. Stop that thought. Stop that thought right there. Nothing about pedophilia needs to be okay. There is nothing normal with a pedophile. Zero. It is not natural. It is not naturally occurring. Yeah, I would admit, or at least contest, that it could be a brain abnormality. Then we need to keep them locked up in a psych ward or something. They do not need to be in the general public. They just don't. Period. And these people need to stop advocating for them. They do not belong in the LGBTQ community. That ruins the LGBT community's reputation. We don't need to accept them in society. The second we accept them into society, oh my gosh, so many children are going to get hurt. Now, I'm going to pose this question for y'all, and I want y'all to really, really think on this and type the answers down below, the ones that y'all think of. What harm, how much harm do you think that writers like this, the one that wrote this Salon article, will cause in the near future if they're able to push their agenda that pedophilia is normal and okay, and they just need a little bit of help? What do you think? How badly can this end if we allow this train of thought to continue?
These aren't conservative beliefs. They aren't liberal beliefs. They aren't the beliefs of just skeptics online. The belief that pedophiles need to seek psychological help before they offend, and if they offend, they should be punished, and that pedophilia is not an acceptable sexual preference that will not be linked to the LGBT community, is a belief held by most progressives, and the majority of feminists as well. This is not a partisan issue.
Hello everyone. So this is a video I never thought I was going to have to make. It seems rather obvious to me that pedophilia is not acceptable, but in the past couple of weeks I have had 3 people come to me independently about this issue on Twitter, so I guess it's time to address it. We should not be normalizing pedophilia. Let me explain what's wrong with it, because that's necessary now, I guess. Children cannot consent to sexual activity. Neurologically, psychologically, emotionally, physically, mentally, they are, well, children. They're not developed yet. They can't think long term. They can't evaluate adult situations, which by definition sexual situations are. But they are people, and we cannot simply use them for our own gain. Consent means informed consent. It means consent without manipulation or duress. This is not possible when an adult person is dealing with a small child. I really don't know how much more basic I can make this argument. It's quite simple. These are people who haven't figured out how to tie their shoes yet, or for whom telling them we'll go get ice cream later is like a form of psychological torture, because they don't do later, right? They are simply not the same as adults from every possible metric that would matter for this. It may seem cold to say to a person who is having sexual feelings for a child that they, as an adult, have a problem, and it's their problem, and they may not visit that problem onto the child in any way. But that's what it is. You cannot harm someone. You cannot take away someone's rights, which is what this would be, in order to satisfy a sexual need or an emotional need of your own as an adult. It is really offensive to me that people would pass this on as being like LGBTQ, or try to say, well, we're just like them, because no, I'm sorry. They were adults talking about adult behavior with other adults. They were also, of course, talking about their identity, but they weren't talking about visiting that identity onto anyone that is incapable of giving consent. They're talking about being able to grow up just like a straight person would and have a relationship with an appropriate adult person just like a straight person would. So to say that pedophilia is just the same is simply untrue and really uncool. Now finally, I just want to briefly say that I think Twitter needs to get off its ass and do something about this. These groups are seeking to normalize a behavior that is extremely harmful. We all have a proactive duty to protect our children, and that includes Twitter. Whether or not this was started as a PO, or it really doesn't matter. The fact is there are pedophiles out there, and they may well come to a group like this and get the sense of validation that this is okay somehow, that this is acceptable behavior, that there are people who support them in this behavior, and that may make them more likely to make a very bad choice and harm someone, and that's just completely unacceptable. Twitter needs to start thinking about how it can work on that, because they're talking about a relationship that is not only horrendous, but also illegal. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, and thank you very much to Dire Wolf for putting this together and letting me give it. Thank you. Bye.
So those in Heart's Progress that are pose, that are trolls, that think it's funny to give a safe haven to real, actual pedophiles, I do not find it funny. You will not achieve your goal of breeding hatred towards the LGBT community because you are not a part of them, and what you're advocating for is not a part of them. All you are doing is emboldening real sexual predators and justifying their behavior. You are encouraging pedophiles to offend, and you are influencing and causing very real harm. We stand against you.
We stand against the idea that a 4-year-old has the mental capacity to consent to sex.
We stand against the normalizing and acceptance of child abuse.
We stand against tolerating dangerous, mentally disturbed individuals to the detriment of children's safety.
We stand opposed to organizations and companies that support the decriminalization of sexual acts with children.
We stand against pedophilia.
We stand against pedophilia.
We stand against pedophilia.
We stand against pedophilia.
I stand against pedophilia.
Fuck Heart Progress. Fuck pedophilia.